Welcome to the section where we're going to be talking about pipeline workflow tactics. The main idea here is if we keep your sales reps focused and work on automating or at least streamlining the things that they're going to do a lot, that's going to allow them to get more production volume. For example, the first thing we're going to talk about is saving time with FAQ workflows, frequently asked questions. Generally, any email that gets sent a lot. It doesn't even have to be a frequently asked question, but you can save a ton of time. Let's say that it takes 5 minutes for a sales rep to type an answer to the same question every single time. If you can streamline that down to a minute, you've just saved 4 minutes of that rep's time. They can make another call. They can answer another email. Now, what happens when you scale that? Well, if they're sending that email 10 times in a week, that's 40 minutes you're saving them. That's close to a full hour. That's a full-blown sales conversation's worth of time where they could close a deal. So that's why we're going to start by looking at saving time with things like FAQ workflows. And remember, you can use it for any pre-written email. It doesn't have to be a frequently asked question. It can be tutorials, it can be data sheets, whatever you need to send to people. And then we're going to look at merging custom opportunity fields into emails. We're probably familiar with custom fields on a contact record. You may not know that you can actually put custom fields on opportunity records too to store information. So for example, if I was a solar panel installer, obviously there's a lot of information I need to know to make that happen, so I can create custom fields to hold information like inspection dates, model numbers, things like that. And you can merge those into an email. You can't merge it into every single email, but there's instances where when you move a stage, you can cause an email to go out that has that information merged into it. And there's a plethora of ways that you can leverage that. Notifications to the customer, notifications internally, many, many ways to do it. So again, it's a very important tactic. And that's why this is pipeline workflow tactics. The ground level things you can do, you want to make sure that your overarching strategy makes sense. So in this video, we're going to look at saving time with FAQ workflows. Quite often in business, there are frequently asked questions, FAQs, that must be answered. A novel way to save time, get organized, and grow sales is by automating these types of emails. Normally, each time one of these questions is asked, someone has to manually type in the answer and send it. A savvier business may have a swipe file of common answers that can be copy and pasted to save time. In this video, we're going to be leveraging the power of a note template to automatically trigger a pre-authored email answering a common question. So specifically, we're going to look at adding a note goal, configuring an email to send, and then at the very end, I'm going to suggest some naming conventions, because keeping these organized is key for operational efficiency. So we're going to start by dragging out a new note template goal. We're going to call this FAQ. We'll just call it common question 1. And then we're also going to grab a sequence. And we're just going to copy it and name it the same thing, common question 1. And we're going to configure this note goal first, since this is quick and easy. So we're going to say that we sent FAQ, common question number 1, and then put whatever you want in here. So okay, now we can mark this as ready. And now we're going to go into the sequence itself. I'm going to go ahead and copy this here, the name of that, because now we're going to grab an email, give it the exact same name here, and now we would simply answer the question. Frequently asked question, comment number 1, answer inside. Obviously, you can be a little more playful with it, so maybe you can actually repeat the question or something like that. We're also going to want to make sure that we have this coming from the person's owner, since many people might be actually applying this particular email. And then all we would do is basically, here's the answer to, whatever this would be. So, of course, in the real world, you would, type out an email and restate the question and then, answer it, maybe even link to some resources or something like that. And then we can merge in the owner field since that's who the email is going to be coming from. And then we can even, okay. And then we can mark this bad boy as ready. And then mark the sequence itself as ready. And now we can publish the campaign. So when someone asks the frequently asked question, a user can simply apply the FAQ note template to automatically send the email and save time, while also leaving a clean digital paper trail. Now, there may be certain times when following up on an FAQ can be beneficial, but also a very low priority to do. If there are any links within the automated email, we can leverage a link click goal to provide a world-class experience. So for example, if this common question has a blog post that we're pointing them to, you can say something like click the blog post, and then we can follow up with them. Now the one thing you're going to want to remember here is that we need to have a delay at the beginning of this sequence. Since they're going to click, we don't want to immediately send something. Usually this would be good for those personal feeling follow-ups specific to the FAQ. So hey, I just want to see if you had any more questions on blah. So we can go ahead and set this to run one day, wait one day, then run during a weekday at 8 a.m. and then it's just a light, any more questions, something like this. So now we can automatically follow up with people once we apply this note template, and it creates a great customer experience. So one thing to be aware of is that the name of the note template goal is going to display for the end user. So to group similar note template types, you're going to want to use prefixes to make them easy to find here. So if I was doing FAQs, I would just have a whole field of FAQ notes and sequences at least, and then all of these goals are going to show up in the drop-down organized. So the end user doesn't necessarily have to fumble around looking for the proper note. They just have to know there's the FAQ section, and then they find the specific one that they're looking for. Under this action type, you can actually configure your own custom types, and this is something that's configurable in the CRM settings. And this is particularly useful when we're doing admin task note reporting. So under task appointment note settings, this is where you can add the different type options. And then when you do your admin task note reports, you can actually filter by these different types. By default, the user who applies the note template is credited as applying the note in the contact record. However, we can change who the note is assigned to in the note template configuration here. And there may be different use cases where you always want to have the same user being credited with the note as opposed to the person that applied it. It's the same process as well if you're doing a note step in a sequence. The other function to be aware of is that when we're configuring a note template, we can also trigger an email notification to a user every time the note template is applied. So for example, maybe we want to have the sales manager notified every time certain sales FAQs are sent out. Or this doesn't just have to be for frequently asked question automation. In fact, I want you to think of a note template as a big red automation button. Big red automation button equals note templates. When we need something automated that we know Infusionsoft can do, like send an email or an HTTP post and so on, but we aren't quite sure how to trigger that automation, a note template's a quick fix. So as I mentioned, even though this video we built notes for FAQ specifically, this tactic can be used for any type of common automation. So as far as common prefixes for names, you can have admin dash
for notes related to administrative automation. You can have customer dash for notes related to customer automation. You might even want to have notes that are the specific product name depending on what the product itself is if there's a lot of FAQs. I'd recommend using finance dash for any financial automation, around billing, things like that. You can use lead dash for any notes related to lead development automation or prospect development. And then finally, you can use sales for notes related to sales automation.